sure if it was part of a dream or something down the hall or outside. I was spending the summer in Taiwan with my best friend Alice, and so much was new that summer that I had stopped questioning what was normal and had begun to accept that each day would bring something unexpected. A new city, new words, new smells, new tastes, new friends. But crying was crying, a universal call of distress, and I had no idea where or who it was coming from. Certainly it wasn't my friend asleep in the twin bed next to me, and it wasn't her parents or grandparents one floor down. And it wasn't from me. At least, I didn't think it was. All I knew that the more it went on, an endless high-pitched moaning sound, the more uneasy I felt. The song Stand By Me has the lyric, "When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid, just as long as you stand by me." I wanted to help, but the sound was just so eerie and the darkness so stifling that I lay there immobilized, transcending time and language and culture. And I got to asking, who is comforting whom? And isn't that a worthy question for our time? A moment or two later, I heard footsteps going down the hall, and soon the crying stopped. God of goodness and mercy, of gentleness and kindness, of righteousness and faithfulness, you are steadfast, and we try to be. And we accomplish nothing without your grace. The psalm chosen for today, which Roy just read, it's Psalm 85, this 8th Sunday in the season of Pentecost. Bible scholars tell us that this psalm goes back to somewhere between 600 and 500 BC. The people of Israel had returned from 70 years of exile in Babylon, the area that we now know as Iraq. And things were not as they might have hoped. After 70 years of living in a foreign land, the generation that was returning didn't even have really a memory. Almost all of them were the children of those who had lived there before. They were returning, and this was somewhere they thought they'd be able to call home. But when they got home and they looked around, their hearts sank. Their land had been ravaged in their absence. And now many faced years of arduous and expensive reconstruction, including the rebuilding of their beloved temple. Their crops had failed long ago. The fields were fallow. And if that wasn't enough disappointment, enemies now threatened them. And among their own people, serious conflict had arisen within their faith community. What they faced was a perfect storm of troubles. Their question was the eternal question of the deeply disappointed. Oh man, is this all there is? Why is this happening to me? And where is God in all of this? It was the biblical version of hitting rock bottom. The psalm is divided into 3 parts. In the first part, the people Israel remember times when God's blessings were abundant. And in the middle section, they lament their present difficulties. And in the third part of the psalm, Israel seeks God's will for the future and prays for God's rich blessing. Psalm 85 is a litany in which the community prays for God's intervention and receives that promise from God. In most psalms, the type of restoration that the original prayers of the psalm had hoped for has been obscured by the passage of time. Perhaps they hoped for things to go back to how they'd been while they were in God's favor. Oh, please, just, can we go back to good? Perhaps a prophet had announced some national sin that the people had committed, and this was a prayer seeking forgiveness. Oh gosh, don't we know that time? That time is now too. Perhaps the land was enduring a famine and they hoped for a bountiful harvest. Oh no. Oh no, our rainforests. Oh no, Haiti, that was 97% forest, is now 4% forest. Oh no. The obscurity of the psalm on this point is actually a blessing because it allows communities suffering from any manner of crises in this time to also pray this prayer. And so in our hearts we insert our own modern day calamities, the rising seawaters, lack of affordable health care, increasing wealth disparity, gun violence, racism, and homophobia, and the opioid crisis that is stealing our loved ones, stealing us, and children in cages. Children in cages. And the great divide among us as a nation about how to address it all. Yes, this psalm is timeless, and so it was written for us. The most striking line in the psalm, maybe you caught it, or it caught your attention too, is about kissing. That really got my attention, and maybe you're thinking Robin went away for 1 week and now Meg is preaching about kissing, but that's the way it goes. That's what caught my attention. This line says, steadfast love and faithfulness will meet, righteousness and peace will kiss. So what does that mean exactly, this line about kissing? Well, as far as I can tell, kissing is so vulnerable and close, so risky, so intimate, so trusting, so hopeful at its best, so bonding. Doing the right thing, righteousness, can shove us right up next to something unknown, perhaps distasteful, life-altering, soul-searching, exhilarating, so possibly excruciatingly right. Kissing can be like that when righteousness meets with peace. The sense that all will be well. The Hebrew word for love is hesed. It's the idea of faithful love in action. Some translations call it steadfast love, and it indicates faithfulness to a relationship. To show kindness or hesed is to act in a loyal, loving way to a person. This is a true kindness in human relationship and of the kindness that God shows us. This kind of love holds the bus for the man who is running along beside it, begging to get on. Oh, please, wait, and the bus slows down. Has that ever happened to you? It's just, oh, thank goodness I'm not late to work again. This kind of love gives space but stays near as the daughter learns to swim. This kind of love is the voice speaking truth while upholding the dignity for the indignant, self-loathing addict. This kind of love keeps a promise to stay awake and keep watch when the neighbor's teenager has not yet come home. Hesed often has the flavor not merely of love, but of loyal love, not merely kindness, but dependable kindness, not merely affection, but affection that has committed itself. These past 2 weeks, we've been hearing the stories of brave divers putting their lives on the line to save children, and a coach trapped in a cave in Thailand. One Navy SEAL sacrificed his life for children he'd never met. An act of hesed or loving kindness presupposes the existence of a relationship between the parties involved, but where no formal relationship has previously been recognized, the person exercising Hesed has chosen to treat the recipient as if such a relationship existed. The diver, through to his end, saw the children in need as his own beloved. May his name, Sergeant Saman Gunan, be inscribed in the tree of life for his selfless act, the determination he inspired, and the blessing that was his life. The children in the cave needed help, and thank goodness so many people responded to the boys as if they were our own children, trapped and terrified and alone. The same goes for the children at the border, doesn't it? All of them are our children, trapped and terrified and alone. The same goes for them. All of them are our children without exception. According to a recent Department of Homeland Security report, of the 2,342 children separated from their parents at the border since May, only 522 have been returned to their families. Let us lift up the name of Mabel Gonzalez, who, detained and separated from her own children since the summer of 2017, is helping other mothers in detention find their children. She listens to their stories, offers comfort, and gets basic information about their cases to an immigrant advocacy agency outside the detention center. She is one among many people who are doing just the one next right thing. I see all of you doing that too, the next right thing, each in your own way. The truth is that we are up against powerful interests that profit from the inhumane system that's been created. We must start by getting every child out of detention and back to their families, and then work with lawmakers to rewrite the U.S. immigration policy. God is steadfast, and we must be as well. To be anything less is to lose our souls. That hot summer in Taiwan back when I was 20 was my first taste of what it means to be steadfast. For one thing, it means staying committed for the long haul, even when it's hard. My friend Alice lived with her extended family, including her grandmother, Amma, a tiny, wizened woman whose arthritic hands were always busy, chopping, folding, soothing, tending. One day, Amma brought back a fresh fish from the market in a bucket of cool water. She cleaned it at the sink and turned the oil to sizzling in the pan. Ginger and scallions scented the room. The air was heavy with the moisture of the tropics and steamed rice. Amma's wrinkled face glanced at me shyly as she flipped the fish, and she never once got a drop of oil anywhere. She had a spotless apron. The long, wide fish was perfectly browned on both sides. I loved it because I burn a lot of things. At 85 years old, there was barely a food Amma could not prepare perfectly every time. I can still remember how that fish melted on my tongue. Alice and I gobbled while Amma cleaned the countertop, glancing every now and again at us. Her eyes were so happy. To this day, I often think of that amazing meal when I smell garlic and ginger frying in a pan. Amma's fish was love made visible, simple, delicious, nurturing, and good. Before sitting down with us, Amma disappeared for a while into a back room. The room felt suddenly empty without her low chuckle and wide smile. "Where'd she go?" I asked. "Oh," Alice replied, pausing to watch my face. "She's feeding my uncle." I'd been there a week or two by then, and I had not heard of an uncle. "What uncle?" I asked. The story followed. Back when Amma was a young mother with many children, one child, the youngest, a 6-year-old boy, became sick. His fever soared, but there was no ice. They lived far into the countryside. Amma tried everything she could do to cool him, but to no avail. Doctors were called. They took a long time to come. The fever reached 106 degrees, and the doctor told Amma that her son would have permanent brain damage if he lived at all. He lived, but as predicted, his mind was gone. A woman of strong Buddhist faith, Amma understood this life-changing event as a form of karma. The effects of her actions in a previous life had determined her destiny in this incarnation. Deep in her bones, Amma felt certain that she owed her son a great debt because of some unfathomable kindness he must have bestowed upon her in a previous lifetime. She would spend the next 50 or more years caring for him, feeding him, rocking him in his crib at night. It was out of her love and respect for their timeless relationship that she chose to chew each bite of food for him, since he could not chew it himself. She tasted but could not swallow practically everything she chewed, even rice. Vegetarian out of religious belief, she chewed her son's fish because the doctors told her he needed it to stay healthy. Amma is my reminder of how I want to live, Alice told me. She suffered a lot in her life, and yet loving her son brought her happiness in a way. It gave her life meaning and purpose. I believe that no matter how unloved and uncared for we may feel at times, there is always someone who needs us to care. When we create artificial distinctions between lives, those in a cave, those in a crib, in a camp, we've wandered into a cage of our own. We become the ones lost in a darkness that deadens our hearts. We cut ourselves off from the God who is love alone. We become the ones who need to be saved. No matter how far we wander from you, O God, your steadfast love finds us. No matter how unjust the world seems to us, God, your steadfast righteousness sustains us. No matter how vulnerable our lives seem to us, your steadfast presence gives us hope. No matter how unloved and uncared for we may feel, O God, there is always someone who needs us to stand by them and to care. God of goodness and mercy, we accomplish nothing without your grace. We submit to your will that we should love you with our everything and love our neighbors and even our enemies as ourselves. Renew us and transform us by your steadfast love into the people